Tonight, President Trump, in his first public appearance since the Capitol riots, he's accused of inciting, expressing no regrets, and taking no responsibility when pressed by NBC's Kelly O'Donnell about his widely criticized remarks before the violence began.
What is your personal responsibility?
So if you read my speech, and many people have done it, it's been analyzed, and people thought that what I said was totally appropriate.
That defiance as he faces becoming the first president ever to be impeached twice.
It's really a continuation of the greatest witch hunt in the history of politics. It's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. I think it's causing tremendous danger to our country, and it's causing tremendous anger. I want no violence.
But tonight, the Senate's top Democrat condemning that response.
He blamed the violence that he helped cause on others. He blamed the divisiveness that he regularly caused on others. Donald Trump should not hold office one day longer.
Tonight, House Democrats racing toward impeachment before the president leaves office in 8 days. Set to vote within hours to issue an ultimatum to Vice President Pence. Remove President Trump by invoking the 25th Amendment, or they will impeach Mr. Trump tomorrow.
I think the president presents a clear and present danger to the well-being of the American people and to our democracy. He must be removed immediately.
So far, more than 210 House Democrats back impeachment and just 2 Republicans. One of them, Liz Cheney, who tonight said the president lit the flame of this attack. Top House Republican Kevin McCarthy floating the idea of censuring the president, saying impeachment, quote, would have the opposite effect of bringing our country together when we need to get America back on a path towards unity and civility. And ahead of a potential Senate trial, one Democratic senator is urging against impeachment.
I think this is so ill-advised for Joe Biden to be coming in, trying to heal the country, trying to be the president of all the people when we're going to be so divided and fighting again.
President Trump in Texas today touting the border wall after meeting with Vice President Pence Monday, the first time they've spoken since the riots. An administration official describing it as a good conversation without indicating whether the 2 leaders discussed the 25th Amendment.
The 25th Amendment is of zero risk to me, but will come back to haunt Joe Biden and the Biden administration.
And just now, one more Republican has endorsed impeachment, so there are at least 3. Also tonight, the New York Times reports Mitch McConnell told associates he believes President Trump committed impeachable offenses and is pleased Democrats are moving to impeach him, believing that would make it easier to purge President Trump from the party.
Hey, NBC News fans, thanks for checking out our YouTube channel. Subscribe by clicking on that button down here. And click on any of the videos over here to watch the latest interviews, show highlights, and digital exclusives. Thanks for watching.